Organization is everything. So let's talk film. My name's Lauren and I'm a film major who wants to share what I'm passionate about with you. As the name indicates, this is a weekly series, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. In today's video, I'll be talking about the post-production process. It really does have a lot of steps to it, and there are so many key people that are involved in each of those different steps. I feel like a lot of people don't understand those jobs or recognize them, and they really think about a movie as happening in production when it's being shot, but there's so much that happens in post. And hopefully this video will add some insight. So step one is the screening of dailies and organizing the footage. So what is a daily? A daily is really the raw footage from each take on set. These can be screened daily, as the name indicates, where you watch and see kind of what you have, or you just watch them all when you're organizing them. The key thing here is that you have to watch every single clip you have, whether you're an assistant editor who's just making sure everything's sorted, or the main editor. If you do not watch everything, if you do not see all that you have to work with, there's no way you can make it the best it can possibly be. The reason organization is so important, and I did not always used to organize my own films as much, and I make short films. I can't even imagine for the long feature films. But it's really important to put the time aside at the start of the project, so that way when you're looking for something later, you don't have to dig through all of your files. You can go right to the bins. Maybe they're organized by scene, and within scene, maybe each angle. Within angles, maybe you could have the best take you like, or someone flagged already. You can have within a scene certain lighting. You can really sort however you want and whatever system works best for you, but a system of sorting is absolutely necessary. Once everything is all sorted out, it's time for the rough assembly. Now the rough assembly is very, very far from what you will ultimately watch in a theater. This is putting everything together in the order that the script lays it out for, and you really just cut before the director says action and after they say cut. Otherwise, everything is like left as is, and it's really chunky and awkward, and you just kind of play everything as it goes. And this just gives the editor, director, and anyone else on this kind of team a great way to see the very basic layout of the film structure itself. But it really isn't until the next step, which is the rough cut, where the editor can start taking on a little bit more creative liberty and start messing around with the order of shots that are being used, because the script has a very specific way sometimes of how the writer envisions it, but you might see that in the editing room, maybe a different order is best, or looking at somebody other than the person speaking might do the job at this point or another. So that's really when that comes into play. There are many, many cuts that often go before picture lock, which I will get to in a bit. But other than the rough cut, then you have the first cut, the second cut, sometimes a fine cut before picture lock, and there's often a lot of little tweaking in between. Really what happens in most of these cuts is tightening. Often each cut of the film will be shorter and shorter, because what you deem essential early on in the process, you may find later you don't really need it. Because sometimes they'll be like, oh, this scene took so long to shoot, it's essential, we have to keep it in. But that doesn't mean it's actually worthy of being in your movie. And this is when it can be really helpful to have an editor who wasn't there on set, because they may see a shot that took you like half an hour to bang out of something versus a shot that took 2 hours, but they might think the simpler shot really works better for the film, and they don't have the bias of, well, we spent so much time into this to make it absolutely have to make it into the final movie. Depending on the size and scope of the project, you may have a lot of different opinions when making these cuts, or it may just be the editor. Like on my projects, which have been small thus far, I'm generally the one editing my own work, though I do get it other opinions out there. But on really big films, you have many different editors doing all different types of things, and then there's like the one main big editor who does like the overseeing work and like any kind of fine details. The next key step, I would say, is picture lock. Picture lock literally means what it says, in that the picture is locked. Every frame in the film as is has to be the same frame as what you will eventually see in theaters or wherever you want to exhibit your piece. This is because at this point you send the files and the footage out to the sound people, color people, maybe effects people, and they cannot put all their time and work into getting the frames as they are for then you to be like, oh wait, actually snip this out here, because that literally will offset all of the work they have done. And that is just not okay for anybody's time, to be efficient, and it's just not the way to do it. So picture lock is a really, really key step, and you want to make sure that your film is ready to go before you announce this stage. So just a quick note here. So there is both color correction and color grading. I often use them interchangeably, but I really shouldn't, so I should work on that. Color correction is really fixing up like exposure and like that kind of thing, like making the clip look better, but not really necessarily adding crazy creativeness to it. First, color grading is really there to bring atmosphere, emotions, mood to your image and scene, and that can be done by making things look maybe a little bit more unnatural or really over the top, but really giving it like a new splash, which can make a huge difference, and I will definitely be putting in some examples. Then we have the sound, which is really split into the sound design and the sound mix. Sound design, termed by the famous Walter Murch. Click there to see the video I did about him. It's a really broad discipline that includes everything from creative recording techniques, Foley, sampling, interesting mixing, layering, literally anything that is a creative way to work with sound goes into sound design. Sound design also includes techniques specifically for film and TV scoring and sounds, because sometimes you have a movie and there's a sound that you need, but that sound does not exist. Like the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park or the sound of a lightsaber from Star Wars. Someone had to create those sounds. Someone had to invent those sounds, and I think that is amazing. But as you can see by those examples, sound design can be crucial. Those elements that come out of sound design can be as important as the physical objects you see on screen. Then the sound mix is the final audio mix, and this is generally stereo for bigger projects, but it could be mono. And that is when somebody, the audio engineer, audio mixer, goes down and they make sure all the levels are right, they make sure the dialogue set up a certain point, ambiance, music, the sound effects, everything's where it's supposed to be at a good level within each other, and they put them onto certain tracks. That goes to mastering. That is when you marry the final image to the final sound, they become one, and you are now ready for exhibition and delivery. And that wraps up this video. If you learned something, give it a nice thumbs up. Be sure to comment down below any questions, feedback, suggestions, literally anything. And remember, this is a weekly series, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my Wednesday videos or the next Film Friday. And I will see you next time. Bye!